Welcome back to my Bolognese sauce. As I said, one of the key ingredients to succeeding in creating such a delectable dish is having a glass of wine while doing it. And the other very important ingredient is having your sous chef, Saki, always by your side. Okay, Saki? So now we're going to get back to our onions, which we have set up closer to the camera for you to keep on watching. Thanks, Saki. But now, if you want to jump to the onions, you're going to have to wash your hands. Go ahead and wash your hands. And at the same time that we were preparing the cutting board for the onions, we remembered another very important element. If you had fresh herbs in your garden, such as basil. Now, fresh basil is just the best in a tomato sauce. We do have some over here, and I will show you along the way when we get to cut the basil and incorporate it into the sauce. Okay?
In a public place.
Saki, come here. I need you. So we have positioned our cutting board closer to the camera. There we go. And as I said, we're going to start cutting our onion. Okay. Saki's back. All right, good. Saki, come on. Show all our viewers that you're still here watching. Good, Saki. Good. Saki is one of the best sous chefs in the area. In a later episode, we will show you how Saki makes good sushi. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and cut our onion. Okay. And remember to wash your hands after you touch that chihuahua. Sometimes it comes into the picture. Right, that's good. A little jittery. So we go ahead and remove the outer skin. All right, cut the onion. And for beginners, cutting a vegetable on the cutting board, you always need to, the easiest way to do this is to not have ever the blade leave the board. So instead of going like this, you just press down and again without leaving the board. The knife always one side of the knife or one part of the knife always in contact with the board. So we're going to go ahead and chop this onion just like that. See how easy that is? Much easier than the way I personally used to do it. Like I said, we can also be substituting this yellow onion for something more exotic, such as a Maui onion, for example, which would sweeten our sauce, as Maui onions are known for their sweetness. Or you could also use red onion, which would be a little different, and I believe a little stronger. Now, obviously, you're going to have occasionally a little teary eyes from cutting the onions. And the best way to get rid of that, really, is to step away from your cutting board, wash your hands, and once it doesn't hurt anymore, get back to your onion and cut. Now, these tears are created from the onion. As you cut it, you'll have fumes that will eventually evaporate and come in your eye and make you cry. That's as simple as that. A good way to, another trick in order not to have this reaction, in order to not be bothered when cutting onions, is to freeze your onions. Now, when you freeze the onion, it's a little harder to cut, but when you start to cut it, you don't have, you're not going to have any onion juice, being exploding in the atmosphere, in the air, if you will, and the fumes coming up. There would be much less fumes coming up to bother you in your eyes and make you cry. I'm crying again. Oh my God. Oh, this is such hard work. but it's part of the game. It makes things more interesting and a little more dramatic. Great, so now we've cut our onions. There we go. You can finally chop them. You know, just like that, it's perfect. Always remember to sip a little bit of wine, and this is when the journey begins. Perfect. Now that we have our onions cut, we're going to go ahead and pull out our tomatoes, and we can go ahead and rinse those. Right now I have a few Roma tomatoes. You can do a combination. What I like to do is a combination of Roma tomatoes and a combination of a canned tomatoes, such as, let me take that out for you. We have diced tomatoes right here, which you can get at the store for $1. All right. So when you are out of tomatoes, and you know not everybody can or wants to go ahead and chop 10 tomatoes to make a nice bolognese, this is a good combination of the two, the fresh tomato and the canned tomato. Now you don't want to do it, you know, if you do it with just the canned tomato, it won't taste as, you know, fresh as if you incorporate fresh tomatoes in it. That's why I always try to combine the two. We're going to go set our onion to the side in a bowl. There we go. Where is our little sous chef? Oh, there you are. Okay. Sous chef or scavenger. I mean, might as well call it scavenger. But they're always there, you know. They're always there to help you. And they show up to work. Because you feed them. All right, so now we've got our tomatoes. We are going to rinse a few tomatoes. And we're going to go ahead and chop these ones. Now what you're doing is you're preparing the tomato sauce portion of our dish, and you know, the protein element, which is what we're looking in these meals by myself, is also very important because we are trying to make nutritious meals, and we are trying to make healthy meals. So this can be combined with spaghetti, which I don't really recommend too much at night, as you want to cut down on carbs to stay fit. So we're going to go concentrate on the sauce and on the protein element, which is tonight our ground pork. Okay, like I said, for a extra lean bolognese, you might want to go ahead and use 7% lean ground beef, or even premium meat ground meat such as bison. Some people do get ostrich meat. It just depends on your budget. This is a good budget meal. As you'll see, the ground pork only costs $3 today, a pound of ground pork, and the rest of the vegetables, as you know, don't cost much, just depending if you want to go organic or not. But these are non-organic or ingredients. This is made all for easy cooking and most things, a delectable meal on a budget. We've got our onions, we've got our tomatoes. Let's see, we are going to set the tomatoes aside now. We got that, we have that in this, there we go. We have our wine, we're going to sip a little bit of that wine. And we are going to start working on the meat. Now the meat, we are going to just come this way. We are going to start cooking the meat here, the pork. We're just going to cook it a little bit because once we you know, eventually the meat will keep on cooking once we put everything in the deep dish pan. So So we don't really need to, but we need to pre-cook the meat, and I'll tell you why. Most important thing about pre-cooking the meat is that when you pre-cook, you start cooking, because a lot of people just, or some people might, not a lot, but a few people do go ahead and throw everything in the in the pan. Now, when you do that, and the meat will go ahead and cook with the sauce, with the tomato sauce, with the onions, because you'll go ahead and simmer it during half an hour or whatnot, and everything will cook, it'll be fine. And what we're trying to do here is eliminate as much fat content as we can. We accomplish that by cooking the meat, pre-cooking the meat, and when the meat cooks, it will go ahead and give out all its excess oils. And before incorporating or mixing everything up and adding the rest of the ingredients, such as the tomatoes, onions, the sauce, with the pork, we're going to go ahead and remove all that oil and try to dampen the pork in order to try to remove as much fat as possible. And that's why we cook the two together. Very important if you want to stay healthy. So, and to have a nice body. So we're going to go ahead and dump the pork in the, here is my pork, just picked up at the deli. We are going to go ahead and dump it in the pan. And deep pan, there we go. And I will go ahead and bring it over here for you guys. All right. Hands are clean? No? Haven't touched the chihuahua yet. Or again. Go ahead and put it back, put it in the pan. And you can add a little bit of an oil base, but very little. And what I recommend is just your pan spray. I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands before I go pick up my pan spray in the cupboard again, because I don't, well, let's put it this way, we want to stay clean and hygienic, right? And I will go ahead and take this, for example, this is from Springfield, the brand Springfield, generic brands, grill spray. And this is basically used for fat-free cooking. We'll go ahead and coat the bottom of the pan and leave the pork inside, and we'll bring everything to the stove to start cooking. So I'm going to go ahead, now going to go ahead and start cooking the meat right here, as you see. And you can start cooking it on low heat. Low heat is important because you don't want to burn any of the ground beef at the bottom. You just want to cook it slowly and separate the oils. While the meat is cooking, also what you want to do is once the meat is in the pan, you obviously want to separate it with a wooden spoon and try to spread it. Just separate as much as you can so that it's separated and mashed. And it obviously will cook faster that way, for obvious reasons. Now we're going to start cooking the vegetables. It's very important to start cooking a little bit as we're actually going to switch these two here. There we go. There we go. It works. And we are going to start have the onions simmer a little bit before we mix everything up later. So I'm going to go ahead and this is when the olive oil ingredient comes in. You want to simmer the onions a little, or saute the onions a little bit with some olive oil. Now you don't need to put much, like I said. It's just as a treat, as a little, so maybe a tablespoon or half a tablespoon will do. And if you don't have enough oil content in the pan,